In Louisiana in 1869, a desperate Morton runs through the forest with a metal contraption on his neck. This collar is causing a blade to chase after him, cutting anything that gets in its way. Morton keeps mentioning a giant spider and wanting to warn the president, but the blade soon reaches him and decapitates him. General McGrath finds the body and mocks Morton for his death. Meanwhile in West Virginia, Captain James is having a great time in the water tank with a gorgeous woman. He pauses their activities when he hears a noise nearby. He looks through a hole in the wood and notices that McGrath's men have arrived in town to bring some contraband. James isn't supposed to be working now, so the woman covers the hole with a towel. When the horses get scared, they accidentally hit the tower holding the water tank and make it fall, dropping a naked James in front of the criminals. The group throws some slurs at him, so he quickly beats them up, putting his clothes on as he fights. He kisses the woman goodbye and grabs a rope to slide through the ceiling, which allows him to land on the contraband cart right before the horses run away in fear. When he opens a box, he's shocked to find nitro. With some calculated jumps, James makes it to the front horse. Across town, Marshal Gordon is in a naughty house pretending to be a woman to get McGrath's attention. When another man tries to get handsy with him, he uses a device hidden in the dress to punch him. Gordon manages to be chosen by McGrath, who shoots a man when he tries to take him from him. At the same time, the horses almost fall over a hill, but James stops them just in time. He looks at the building and sees McGrath, so he starts climbing around it. Gordon takes McGrath to an empty room and reveals a hypnotizing machine hidden in his bra. Once McGrath is under his control, Gordon asks him who paid him to kidnap a scientist named Escobar. However, the device stops working and Gordon takes out his knife, so James bursts through the window and punches McGrath down. When James is about to shoot McGrath, Gordon stops him, saying that he needs him. McGrath uses the chance to tackle James through the wall and punches him before running away. Afterward, James goes to the main area and starts fighting McGrath's men while everyone panics. Gordon notices that some bandits are trying to sneak out with Escobar and tries to stop them, but James accidentally bumps into him and they end up in a standoff, so the villains escape. Outside, ex-Confederate Dr. Arliss makes one of his female guards read the lips of the people in the building and learns that Gordon and James are law enforcement. After his men put the kidnapped scientist in the carriage, Arliss pushes the cart with the nitro into the building, causing a huge explosion. A few days later, James is called to the president's office and immediately notices that the man is a fake. When the president denies it, James shoots at the ceiling, forcing the guy to admit that he's Gordon in disguise. At that moment, the real President Grant comes in and announces that they'll have to work together. He takes the duo into a secret room and explains that America's greatest scientists have all been kidnapped by McGrath, who has sent a note to the president. It says that the kidnapped scientists are working on a weapon system beyond imagination. The note gives Grant 1 week to surrender the government, and it was delivered with a cake full of spiders. The duo knows that McGrath is a bloodless killer but not a smart one, so they suspect there's a mastermind behind this. Grant orders to find them before the end of the week. The president puts his special train at their disposal and Gordon reaches it first thanks to his motorized bicycle, so he tries to leave alone. James starts following it on his horse, and when he jumps on the entrance, a hidden trap activates which sends him inside through a hatch in the roof. Gordon and James immediately start arguing and James ends up punching him. Then Gordon starts making some weird movements as a distraction and presses a button, which makes a hammer come out and hit James. He falls on a pool table that quickly activates to strap him down. It turns around and leaves James exposed to the rails, so in turn he pulls a lever and causes a chair with Gordon to do the same. They agree on a truce for the sake of the president and go back inside. Afterward, Gordon connects Morton's head to a machine that lets him check the last thing he saw before death, which is McGrath. The duo notices an invitation in McGrath's pocket for a costume ball in New Orleans, so they head there. On the night of the party, James sneaks around the party building, and when a guard tries to stop him, he knocks him out with a punch. Then he climbs through the window to go inside. In the corridor, he meets Miss East, Arliss' personal assistant. As she shows him around, James notices Gordon in disguise in the crowd. The dancers and the musicians make a big entrance show as a doll of Abraham Lincoln enters the room. Suddenly it blows up and reveals Arliss, who is missing half of his body. Everybody is shocked to see him alive, so he describes all the organs he's missing and complains about losing the war, but he wants the party to be fun anyway. James asks him about McGrath and Arliss pretends he hasn't seen him in a while. Meanwhile, Gordon sees the dancers sneaking around and hears one of them crying for help. Afterward, Arliss goes to talk in private to McGrath and James follows them to spy on the conversation. McGrath is angry because of all the weapons he lost the night of the attack, so Arliss draws a map and promises to deliver more weapons to a spot by the river. After the men are gone, James breaks into the office and traces the marks left by the map on the paper. At that moment, East comes in and kisses him, trying to distract him with naughty times. Suddenly a painting starts moving, revealing a camouflaged guard. He almost shoots James, but he moves quickly and East gets shot instead. Then James kills all the people in the paintings and leaves. On the main floor, James starts dancing with a woman whom he thinks is Gordon and tells her everything he's learned. When he jokingly touches her chest, the woman slaps him. Gordon reappears and yells that James should be hanged. While the crowd takes James outside, Gordon picks the lock of the door where he heard the cries for help and discovers a naughty room. Inside a cage, Rita has been locked up. Using a special device, he breaks the lock and releases her. Outside, James is trying to keep the crowd distracted with a dumb speech and even proposes to the woman he touched, causing her to pass out. At that moment Gordon and Rita appear on a carriage, so James fights off a guard and throws himself across the hanging platform using the rope to join them. Rita explains that her father is Escobar, the scientist that Gordon failed to save the other day. She's not a real entertainer, she came to this house undercover to look for her dad. In a boat in the river, Arliss and McGrath plan their next move. On the shore, McGrath's soldiers are waiting for orders. Suddenly a steam-powered tank arrives and the soldiers celebrate, thinking it's their new weapon. However, the tank opens fire and quickly kills every man surrounding it. McGrath gets furious and calls Arliss out for treason, but Arliss thinks this is payback. McGrath and East surrendered when the war was lost, and he sees that as treason. McGrath yells for a while and eventually pulls out his gun, but Arliss shoots him first with his wheelchair. Then Arliss asks some military men to bring him 1,000 kilograms of gold to Spider Canyon and he'll reveal his biggest weapon yet. By the time Rita and the guys arrive, all the soldiers are dead and Arliss is gone. James shares a story about a weapon capable of doing this being seen in New Liberty, a free slave town. The elderly, women, and children were used as target practice. At that moment they hear a groan and find McGrath's body in the water. James thinks McGrath was behind New Liberty but McGrath clarifies he was framed, it was actually Arliss. Before he can answer questions, he dies. Rita overheard people in the mansion about Arliss' destination and only tells them it's Utah after they agree to take her with them. However, the duo gets on the train and leaves her behind. Of course Rita runs after them and ends up getting in through the same hatch trap James used. In the morning, James discovers that Gordon has installed a knife in his shoe. Soon they catch up to Arliss' train, but after crossing a tunnel, they lose sight of it. It turns out Arliss' train used special beams to be elevated and let the guy's train pass first. As Arliss opens fire, James gets on the pool table and is lowered on the tracks. Unfortunately, the rope holding his platform soon breaks and the platform starts moving fast without signs of stopping. James acts quickly and ties the rope to the train so he can jump on it. Then he tries to take a look at the chimney only for a guard to surprise him from behind. The men start fighting and James uses the knife hidden in his boot to get his victory. As James throws the body in the chimney, Arliss fires a harpoon into the other train to link both vehicles. The boiler explodes because of the body and both trains stop. Since Arliss is entering their train now, Rita and Gordon run to hide. James finds them at the same time that Rita accidentally activates a sleep gas bomb, knocking them all out. Sometime later Gordon and James wake up on the ground with metal collars around their necks and a tiny fence around their feet. Arliss mocks them for their loss before leaving on their train with Rita. Gordon doesn't have any of his tools in his pockets, but he does find a note explaining that they'll stay alive as long as they stay inside the fence. Not believing the note, James steps out. Suddenly a machine left by Arliss shoots 2 round blades that start chasing after them, cutting all the plants in the way. Gordon explains that the collars have magnets that only lose power after 400 years. The guys run to the nearest gully and stand on opposite sides. When the blades come closer, they jump down at the same time and cause the blades to crash into each other. Soon the duo realizes they've fallen into a pool of poop. Moments later the duo is out of the gully and arguing over what happened. Gordon is furious at James and tries to hit him with a rock, only to hit the collar instead. This changes the polarity of the magnet and causes the collars to get stuck. James makes a jump that causes him to fall but also offers his knife to Gordon, who removes the boot. After the collars keep getting stuck on different metals on their clothes, the men try to run in different directions, only for the magnets to bring them back together. They roll down the hill and end up falling in the river, where Gordon is happy to find his fallen toolkit. Once the collars are off, James starts a fire and hunts something to eat. He explains he was raised by the Indians in the desert after he escaped the plantation he was enslaved by. When he found his family again, they were part of the bodies in New Liberty. A wasp captures a spider nearby and James explains the process of its attack to Gordon. The next morning they start walking through the desert and the collar in Gordon's hand suddenly drags him away. It turns out it reacted to Arliss' private track, so now they can follow it to find him. Eventually they see their train in Spider Canyon, where they discover that Arliss has built an entire city. His ultimate weapon is an enormous mechanical spider that can destroy everything on its path. The duo gets on the train, James searches for clean clothes and weapons. Gordon remembers the wasp in the desert and thinks he should build something like Da Vinci's flying machine to stop Arliss, but James says there's no time. Meanwhile Grant is at an inauguration ceremony but the ground keeps experiencing light shakes. The giant spider then appears and the crowd runs away in panic while Arliss shoots down a train. Suddenly Gordon comes out disguised as the president and pretends he's the real one while James climbs to the spider. As Arliss throws a net to capture both Grants, a guard sees James and shoots him to make him fall off. Later Arliss is hosting an event in his base, explaining how he'll sell pieces of the US to different countries and keep an area for himself. James wakes up and discovers he's alive, thanks to Gordon's chainmail. He returns to the train and the only weapon he finds is a minigun hidden in a belt. Noticing Gordon's costumes, he gets an idea. At the base, Grant refuses to surrender the country and Arliss threatens to kill Gordon. At that moment James arrives dressed as an exotic dancer. He keeps Arliss distracted so he can steal the keys from his chair and pass them to Gordon, who discreetly frees himself. Unfortunately James accidentally activates the flamethrowers hidden in his bra. Arliss orders his men to shoot but James starts burning them all down. While everyone is distracted, Arliss and his guards drag Grant into the spider. More soldiers try to come in and James throws a bomb disguised as an 8-ball, causing a big explosion to stop them. Rita releases all the scientists and runs to safety with them. Desperate for a plan, James asks Gordon to build the flying machine. Moments later Gordon improvises a flying machine using Da Vinci's ideas and his bicycle. Before they leave, the conductor gives them a few explosives and reveals he's a marshal hired to look after them. The guys drive the machine toward the cliff and at first it looks like it has fallen, but soon it starts flying. In the meantime the huge spider makes it to a town where Arliss starts killing people and destroying buildings, hoping Grant will change his mind. Soon the duo arrives and like the wasp in the desert, they attack using dropping explosives instead of eggs. At first they manage to dodge Arliss attacks but eventually they're shot down and crash right into the spider, causing one of the guards to fall off. Unfortunately the other guards surround the duo and take them to Arliss. When James insults him, Arliss activates a trap to make him fall into the lower level, where he has to fight a man who has blades instead of hands. 2 more men soon join the fight so James has to use lots of quick moves to defend himself. With a chain from the machine, he sends the bladed guy flying off. He throws the second guy into the engine and the third one is knocked out by a shovel. At that moment a man with metal skin arrives. No matter where James punches, he causes no damage. The enemy is about to push James off the spider, however his chips suddenly go through an electric shock and he ends up falling instead. Afterward James kicks Arliss, who reveals he can leave the chair by using mechanical legs. James punches him and makes him spin, so Arliss kicks him back. Then he steps on his hands and starts kicking him in the chest. Gordon reveals he has a tiny gun hidden in his sleeve and shoots, but Arliss mocks him for missing. However the bullet has broken one of Arliss' legs, so now he can't move anymore. Gordon distracts the guards long enough to make them fall off the spiders. Grant notices the spider is about to fall off a cliff so Gordon tries to take control of it to no avail. Arliss manages to get back on his chair and fires his hidden gun, but instead of shooting James he hits the spider. This causes it to stop right on the edge of the cliff. Arliss slips down and so does James, who has to hold on to his enemy to survive. Since Arliss keeps taunting him, James pulls the chair's lever to make it fall, so Arliss drops to his death while James holds on to the chain with the body from earlier. Sometime later Grant announces he's created an agency called Secret Service, whose job is to protect the president. Gordon and James are the first agents in it. Rita thanks them for everything while revealing that Escobar is her husband, not her father, so she ignores their flirting. James and Gordon ride into the sunset on top of the spider.
Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you on my next video.